Hello and welcome to another episode of the DewatchPod, the episode where we watch Black Mirror seasons in reverse. And you might think that we're done now because this is the recap episode for season 1, but in fact season 7 came out while we were already podcasting, so that's up next. I am Jorgen Smorgasbord.
And I am Jim with a G, and I'm very happy that Charlie Brooker has given us yet another cow to milk. Or perhaps a pig.
We have season 1 to recap because we've just gone through all the episodes, and oh boy howdy do we have some content warnings saved up for y'all.
We sure do. Do you want to do one at a time?
Yep.
Bestiality.
Gore.
Threats of suicide.
Self-harm.
Suicide.
Sexual violence.
Domestic abuse.
Alcohol abuse.
Drugging.
Surveillance.
And that's their viewers.
The episodes from which all these beautiful content warnings come to us are the national anthem, where the Prime Minister is coerced into fucking a pig by an artist.
15 Million Merits, which is about Charlie Brooker kind of writing a YA dystopia, quite frankly, where it's about everyone is stuck in this entertainment complex, basically.
And the entire history of you, which is the first time he does brain chips, but it's not him, is it?
It's not.
It's Jesse Armstrong.
I can't believe you remembered that, Jorgen.
Thank you, Jim. And yeah, so
we've come a long way. Like
yeah.
we're finally standing here at the edge of the world, and what a strange feeling it is.
Yeah, like we're about to like get our Black Mirror PhD, and like we're like trying to learn information faster than we're forgetting it, and it's getting tough.
It is, but simultaneously, like, I think it's really interesting to me, right? Because, like, the very first episode not that we watched, but that Black Mirror enthusiasts ever watched, the national anthem, is fascinating to me because it represents this little string of very real episodes, in the sense of, like, taking place without any sci-fi flourishes, that just kind of die out, more or less, after, like, season 2.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, does season, 6 have anything like that?
Maxi Day is the closest, and I'm only saying that because it takes place in, 2006 or something, and that's really cheating because it has a werewolf. But it's really, and that's super interesting to me, compared to the other two, both 15 Million Merits, and especially the entire history of you, have so many little seeds that sprout into the forest of Charlie Brooker's Black Mirror in future seasons, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of what I'm mainly thinking about with this season, is that oh no, we've found the source code, right? Like, these first 2 seasons, I think, are just so emblematic of so much that Black Mirror ends up doing, and you just have all these ideas being just touched on, you know?
Yeah, and I think I was a bit surprised by this in a way, because I remember early Black Mirror being quite different from season 3 onwards. And there's a lot of small things about that. You can point out that the first 2 seasons have 3 episodes, and after that, for the most part, it's 5 or 6 episodes a season. But even just even down to small individual pieces, as you, dear Jorgen, commented on while we were watching 15 Million Merits, there's that seed of Charlie Brooker not super knowing what to do with the time he is gifted. Per episode, right? And a lot of these slow, long shots and stuff like that. So it's fascinating to me just how much is preserved compared to what is lost, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that is to the show's detriment down the line, because here we're oh shit, this is where the ideas were fresh, you know? This is sort of the first time he's talking about this stuff, and then he's just going back to it, and I'm not fully settled on this or anything, but I'm tending to feel a bit more negative about it, because he doesn't, sometimes he revisits some of these ideas with intent, but maybe he doesn't have anything new to say other times. So sometimes I'm oh yeah, no, this is this is a fun sort of network of episodes that sort of approach the same thing from different angles. Other times I'm like, oh, the entire history of you is like it seeds some concepts for Crocodile that are not explored in Crocodile. They're just sort of mentioned.
Yeah, like I want to say there's like two branches that really come off of a lot of these early episodes. There's a few of there's a few later episodes, probably too many, quite frankly, that are just like, or at least feel like Charlie Brooker realized one of his early episodes are really good and he wants to recapture that, right? Like I think one of the obvious ones is like Shut Up and Dance, which I think I like a lot better than you do, but I can't help but still feel that it is a bad replica of White Bear, for example.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of these moving forward. But there's also just a lot of stuff where, as you say, like, he looks back upon these early episodes and picks out, like, a technology that wasn't fully explored and goes, like, what if we try this again? And the memory grains of the entire history of you, like especially the further along we move, I feel like the more it just branches and branches out into so many different episodes.
Yeah.
Like even White Christmas already is like going off of very similar ideas.
But then it's also like present in very different ways in Striking Vipers. And right, like it's not a direct line, but it's there. So like I'm kind of puzzled with it because it's like it's very strange to accuse an anthology series of this, but like there is a little bit of multiverse sickness. Right? There's to Black Mirror in that sense, right? It's like, oh yeah, no, we've had this idea. Now let's really dig down there and make sure there's nothing left unsaid. And of course there is, I guess we were really holding this against the later seasons when we were talking about them, because they certainly leave a lot unsaid.
Yeah.
But, like, I think to some extent, it's not that leaving things unsaid is bad. It's that saying nothing, not having not enough focus for one particular thing.
Yeah, like I mean, fundamentally, a lot of the issues I feel like of later Black Mirror is that they take a base concept, explore it quite shallowly, to the point that they don't have enough dirt they've dug up to actually make something out of it. And that is not an issue I have genuinely seen that much at all in these first two seasons, right?
Yeah.
Like comparatively. And a part of me wonders, like, how much of this is the shift to Netflix, right? Like, how much of this is like, because we've talked a little bit in the past that these early seasons are, first of all, they're shorter. This is, for Charlie Brooker, unequivocally a good thing.
Yeah.
This makes a lot of things a lot tighter, and there's still a bit too much air here and there, but like, it's certainly a huge step in the right direction. But also just like,
and the seasons are shorter.
The seasons are shorter as well. I think that's less important to me.
Really?
But
I think I was going in the opposite direction.
I think, like, I don't think inherently it's a huge issue. And, like, to be fair, I think some of this you'd have to, like, go into the writing room to really figure out what the issue is.
Look at Charlie Brooker's day planner for, like, the 3 years leading up to a season.
Yeah, but, like, let me put it like this. I think Men Against Fire absolutely could have been part of a 3-episode season. Playtest, maybe not. That one is maybe a bit more obviously filler, but like, I think a lot of this, like, the execution failing, I do not think is necessarily for lack of trying, because with all due respect, I think, with some exceptions, Metalhead perhaps being one of them, Macy Day being another, by and large, I do not think the worst episodes of Black Mirror are necessarily a result of underdevelopment. I think a lot of the time they spend too much time thinking about how to be really clever and not, maybe shaving some stuff, killing your darlings, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And like, it's definitely hard to like pin it on the form when like we have White Bear, which is like one of the most emblematic Black Mirror episode that does like all the things we're mad about later.
Yeah, like, and I think that's like a huge point of
And it's
execution.
good. To
Yeah,
be clear, it's good. It's a
White
good
Bear is
episode.
really good. Like, I think it's top 5 episodes of Black Mirror.
Easily.
And as you said, like, clearly the writing is clunky, but it works. And like, I think White Bear is genuinely like, it's an episode you could bring up in like film school to be like, the rules are generally good to follow. They are not ironclad. But then you have to also bring up, say, Metalhead and be like, but there are reasons to follow them. And you should probably be careful when you decide to break them, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, no, like, it's... And while we're, like, on the subject of parallels, I think one of the more interesting ones to draw is 15 Million Merits to Smithereens, which, like, got a brief mention, right? And 15 Million Merits, like, it has a lot going on. So I think, like, it being sort of the progenitor of Smithereens in a less direct way, like, I think that's a really good one, because, like, 15 Million Merits is interested in these ideas, and it's interested in the idea of, like, trying to get someone to talk to about the things that are wrong. And Smithereens just, like, focuses a lot more on that, and I think they both gain from it, because they both dive into things that the other doesn't.
Yeah, honestly, like, since we did Smithereens, I think my opinion of it has gone up. And I remember that episode, because, like, we spent a lot of time talking about it and how it's fragmented. And, like, at the time we were doing the episode, I think my opinion was going down. And in hindsight, after season, like, 3 and 4 in particular, I've been like, it's actually kind of good in comparison.
No, like, I think it gains from, like, the predecessors, because, like, the further into the past you look, the more you just, like, see the through line of Charlie Brooker going like, well, I guess everyone really would like to speak to the manager, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I wanna throw in another one in between here that I think is an interesting through line, because, like, Black Mirror talks a lot about social media in certain episodes, at least. Like, there's stuff like Hang the DJ and stuff like that where I go like, it doesn't say that much, but I want to throw in like a sort of in between here, between 50 Million Merits as the starting point and Smithereens as closer to the end point, at least, which is Nosedive, right? And I think 50 Million Merits is really interesting because it analyzes like being ideologically stuck in a system, and Nosedive goes like, if you're ideologically stuck in a system, just don't, dude. And it's like, I feel like Nosedive is such like, I don't want to get snobby. I know I'm pretentious. I don't want to get snobby. But I do feel like Nosedive is genuinely like the dumber version of 50 Million Merits. And Smithereens, in that through line, kind of picks it back up and goes like, yeah, let's actually question how much like about the perils of social media is because of the system taking over for us, and how much of it might actually be, to an extent, a scapegoat for our own personal issues and just like human nature that has always been there.
Yeah, and I think like, but I do think like Nosedive is also elevated in this context, because going like, hey, what if you just like said fuck this, right? Like, I think that's a valuable perspective in this context, right? Like, because she actually gets out, like, no one else gets out.
I suppose that's true. What I will say is I think Smithereens actually poses that question better than Nosedive, because Smithereens is basically like, eventually comes to, in my opinion at least, comes to some sort of conclusion that like, yeah, like social media did not help this guy, but simultaneously he did not need to text while driving. There was not a gun against his head texting while driving.
Yeah.
He could have gotten out. Nosedive, I don't know, it feels a lot more hollow, and it feels a lot more like teen movie, be yourself, and then that's the message.
Yeah, the thing is, I think I appreciate that message in this context, right? Like, sure, like, it's, she hasn't, like, fucked her life in the same way that our beautiful, I'm forgetting his name, actor has.
Daniel Kaluuya?
No, the...
Smithereens man?
Yeah.
I don't remember that either.
The Moriarty guy, the hot priest from Fleabag. But there is just... With Nosedive, she hasn't fucked her life in the same way that Mr. Talk to the Manager has. And I think that, like, makes it fundamentally a bit more palatable in that sense, right? Like, hey, you know, he has some very logical and sensible reasons for really holding on to his delusions.
Yeah.
Right? So the story going that way, it works, right? And conversely, Nosedive, right? She is getting nothing out of this. She's not even getting, like,
She's getting a very bad time out of
yeah,
this.
yeah, no, she is sunk cost only, no benefits for me, thank you. And I think, like, those are both, like, valid angles, right?
I suppose. I think one thing that actually makes me respect Nosedive a bit less now that we've seen season 1 is that, like, 50 Million Merits is kind of a deconstruction of just, like, what if one guy rebels against an unjust system?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that counterpart then going into Nosedive makes me go, like, I've seen why this wouldn't work.
Well, I think the point where Nosedive is, like, there are systems that you can just opt out of, right? And, like, 50 Million Merits has a too long name, I'm realizing.
A little.
But, like, there, it's, like, a system you can't opt out of. In the Nosedive, it's a system that you can opt out of extremely easily, right? And those, I think, make for...
Well, okay.
It has coercive power, but it doesn't have, like, that much coercive power, right? And I think, like, those are... Like, it has costs, but they're, like, affordable.
Like, not getting healthcare?
I don't think healthcare is actually coupled to the system. It's just like having a really nice influencer house.
Well, no, they do mention, like, the trucker lady's
That's
husband.
Right. But yeah, no, like, I do think there is something to be said for that, nevertheless, right? There, like, it's a bit naive, but at the end of the day, if you take a very personalist perspective, like, going just like, hey, maybe playing the game isn't worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an alternative view, and it's, to an extent, you could probably make the case that, like, Nosedive is a bit more, compared to 50 Million Merits at least, a bit more true to reality, but also, like, I don't know, I like the extra systems analysis and how it affects, like, individuals that comes from 50 Million Merits.
Yeah.
But I actually want to make, like, an interesting, like, I want to talk a little bit about what you just said about, like, the more personalistic viewpoint. Because, like, I feel like this is something that has shifted a bit back and forth during Black Mirror. Like, how much are we talking about systems and how much are we talking about people? And season 1 is quite a rich blend, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, to me, the national anthem is pretty much... Like, we get characters. And I wouldn't even say we get quite good characters, but they... What was the porn guy's name? Like, Rod Magnum or something? That was really good.
It's just like Rod Fuckgood or something.
Great casting, by the way. But genuinely, like, we get quite strong characters. Like, the Prime Minister and like, his relationship with his wife is genuinely, like, one of the stronger, like, personal elements in all of Black Mirror,
yeah,
I would say.
It really gets you.
Yeah, like, it's sad. But simultaneously, it is, I think it's nearly exclusively about systems, right? Like, it's about media, it's about, like, the political structure and, like, the dignity and prestige of these offices, especially as they show up in...
It's about dehumanization.
Yeah, but, like, in a different way, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, I find that interesting. And then you have, like, 15 Million Merits, I think, comes off immediately as, like, this is the system, this is our 1984 episode, right? Like, this is the big evil government episode. And then it kind of, like, emphasizes a bit more what happens to the individuals in the system. And that's quite, like, to me, very interesting. And then we've talked a lot last episode about how the entire history of you is about a new technology that seems dystopian, but it turns out it's just a guy who's awful.
Yeah,
A little bit.
And in that way, like, I do think Black Mirror is, like, at its best, it's, like, quite ambitious in trying to, like, explore the whole range, right?
Yeah.
It's like, sure, like, sometimes we talk about systems, and sometimes we're just, like, trying to, like, capture the vibe of being in modernity, right? Like, again, going back to Smithereens, right? Like, that episode is fucking keyed in on, like, capturing the vibe of everything is phones now.
Yeah.
And
that's something Black Mirror is very intrigued by.
yeah, and, like, the other day I saw someone, like, post about Black Mirror, and I was like, man, people have very strong feeling. People are very, like, emotionally engaged with the show. And
yeah, and everyone but us is wrong about it, as we've shown by people reviewing things.
yeah, no, people dislike good episodes and like bad episodes. At least people who post on the internet.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you do that, what are you doing?
But yeah, like, honestly, like, that's one of those things that I've kind of been reflecting back and forth during our journey throughout Black Mirror, is that, like, if you look at something like season 5, right, which is, I'm gonna tenuously dub it the escapades season, and I think it's very, very much focused on personal stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you look at Striking Vipers, we've talked about how this might as well just be an affair story, but even more to the point, we never get a hint that, like, well, we get, I guess, one slight hint, but certainly not to the degree I would expect, that, like, this is not an issue for most people. Most people maybe have sex in the fighting game universe, but they sure as hell don't ruin their lives over it like these guys do. And, like, Rachel, Jack, and Ashley too. I mean, that one is resistant to interpretation, but, like, by and large, it's an adventure story about two plucky gals.
Yeah.
And then Smithereens, which, kind of like 50 Million Marrieds, starts out with, this is about phones, this is about social media, and then it's kind of, this is about a guy. And then, like, season 6 to me is very systems focused.
Yeah.
Like, it talks a lot about both the, like, rebellion against systems, but also about, like, sort of sinking into them, such as in Loch Henry.
Yeah.
Like, even the episodes, I mean, like, I don't want to talk about Beyond the Sea, but, like, even those episodes that seem more personal are still fundamentally about the systems that capture these people, right? Like, it's about patriarchy in that one quite heavily, I would say.
It's about patriarchy, it's about masculinity under patriarchy.
Yeah.
And murdering.
Yeah, body mates, wife, I was gonna say wives, that's not, it's a different form. Anyway, but, like, I think both season 1 and season 2 have quite a rich blend of both, and I think that is to their benefit.
Yeah, because, like, I think that is probably part of the reason why people, like, were so enchanted by Black Mirror, like, way back when, you know? It's that it's trying, and it's sometimes stumbling, but it is trying to capture, like, the small and the large, and not hold them in balance, but at least, like, look at them both, not at the same time necessarily, but it's really trying to situate, if you, like, just look at it as, like, hey, here's people in modernity, here's modernity, like, from a, like, bird's eye view, and it's not, it doesn't have to, like, do both at the same time for people to go, like, yeah, no, like, I can put these together. I am the guy, but I'm also the bird.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I think that's kind of, like, the beauty of Black Mirror when it does its thing, because I was just, like, reflecting for a moment, like, when I'm looking back on each season and, like, the best episodes in each season. So, because I had to run through season 4 quickly in my head, and I was like, is Archangel really the best episode of season 4? And I think so, because like, and I'll run them by you, Jorgen, quickly, just so I get a sign off here. But like, season 4 has USS Callister, Archangel, Crocodile, Hang the DJ, Metalhead, and Black Museum.
Yeah, no, it's the best by like a lot of standards. Black Museum has it's the zestiest.
Yeah, it has our devil boy. I will say,
but
like,
it really stumbles.
I do, if I have to levy one criticism towards the early episodes, or early seasons of Black Mirror, they don't have enough weird guys. Or the weird guys, they're not rich enough, you know?
Yeah.
Like once we get to like Hated in the Nation and we have the Prime Minister shouting about like, we all know Lord Attington is a pedophile. Get him. And stuff like that. We've entered the rich territory of weird guys.
Yeah.
But specifically, like, when I look at something like that with season 4, like Archangel, the reason it's compelling is because it looks at like a technology, what does it do to the person who is susceptible, right? And that goes very much for the entire history of you, right? Like, that's very much about a guy who cannot handle this tool he has been given. And also very much goes to something like Be Right Back, which I also think is quite strong as an episode.
Yeah.
And then, like, if we have something like season 3, probably have to give it to San Junipero, right?
Yeah.
And that is also very much about, like, hey, here is this new technology. How do you deal with that? Like, how do the preconceptions of, like what you have been built to believe in your mortal life change when you are granted immortality? Like, and I think about that a lot, because, like, immortality, still probably a bit on the horizon for us, but, like, something like, you know, the increased automation of jobs clashing with, say, Protestant work ethic is, like, highly relevant right about now. And I think that's what makes those sorts of episodes very rich.
Yeah. Like, I do think San Junipero is a very interesting episode in, like, the larger canvas. Because, like, it is a new thing in a, like in the broader canvas, right? Because, like, I'm looking at, like, seasons 1 and season 2. San Junipero is not seeded in, like, very meaningful ways, right? Because conceptually, the idea that San Junipero genuinely plays with, like, what if good things were just, like, on the table, and we just need to take them, right? Yeah. And it's, you know, it'll take some processing, but fundamentally, better things through technology are in fact possible. And sometimes that's just it, right? And there's, like, a resistance to being like, well, but the systems behind these things, like, no, the company doesn't seem to be doing anything bad. It's just fine. You can just live forever if you choose. And that is, like, that's a notion that I don't see explored much elsewhere in Black Mirror.
I definitely think Black Mirror is, even when it's quite clumsy at times, it is at its absolute best when it's genuinely trying to explore new territory.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is probably what makes season 1 and 2 a lot better, because when they retread territory that they've done before, it tends to be worse.
Yeah, I think what happens is that they're not as interested anymore.
I think they're not as interested, and I think also just, like, I think they benefit a little bit from the broader view of things that they, like, when you first dig into, like, hey, let's talk about surveillance in a future where surveillance becomes a lot more common, easier, etc. That allows them a certain amount of freedom to actually pick interesting stuff.
Yeah.
When they then have to be, like, a lot more specific, they then start throwing in bad twists, for example.
Yeah.
And they start looking at things like, oh, we've kind of looked at that already, let's go somewhere else. Like,
what is the second most interesting thing about this idea that we've just done the most interesting thing for already?
Or, in the worst cases, I would say they even go so far as to just, like, let's do that episode again, but change enough stuff that it's technically a new story. Like,
yeah.
I think Shut Up and Dance is on the upper half of season 3, simultaneously, as I said earlier in this episode, it is just a worse version of White Bear, and it is not, in the broad strokes, substantially different, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's about, here's a bad person, or like, here's a person. They are being hounded for no reason. Oh no, there was a reason. Does that make their hounding okay? And like, that's just the same story again.
Yeah. Another parallel I want to like hone in on a little bit is the entire history of You and Archangel.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Because like both of them are like, a person is given a technology that just makes them real bad.
Yeah. Unlocks their inner issues.
Right, and I think like it's quite emblematic of like why Black Mirror doing retreads doesn't work that well. Because like, while Archangel, like, on its own, like, good episode, you know? It doesn't quite have the like, well, no one else is bad at dealing with this in quite the same way that the entire history of You has. And like the thing it does to differentiate itself, and I think this is quite good to be fair, is it's like, well, we're mainly focused on not the person who like goes down the rabbit hole, but the person who is like most personally affected by it. And right, that's maybe the entire history of You should have done a bit more of that, but like maybe that is just like a different thing. But like it doesn't have quite the same like, well, it does this very weird thing where it's like, well, we don't want to deal with a world that is at large affected by this. So this is just going to be like a leftover prototype that works insanely good for some reason.
Yeah, that sure is like I don't know. Like I detest Archangel on that specific point, that they didn't have the courage to just be like, no, this is like a common thing. But specifically, I think Archangel is interesting as a contrast to the entire review for another specific reason. On top of like being about the person affected by this, not the person corrupted by it itself, it's also, it's a bit more sympathetic, right? Because like,
yeah,
I think when we were watching the entire history of You, in the first scene, you were like, I hate this guy.
Yeah, I mean, they do some work to make him sympathetic, but like,
not
they
entirely
don't...
sympathetic, at least.
Yeah, but like they don't really put their backs into it.
But specifically, even without looking at the characters' vibes, you can't help but feel that like Archangel is like one of those stories that's about, here's how good intentions go wrong. Here's about a mother who is clearly misguided by her own anxiety into doing bad things, but like she's doing it in her heart for good reasons. But the entire history of You can talk a little bit about like, oh well, to be fair, his girlfriend cheated on him, but simultaneously his reasonings behind this is essentially like pure possessiveness, right? Yeah. Like, it does not paint this guy positively whatsoever, I would say.
No, like the only quote-unquote and the like largest font quotes available here redeeming element is that he started going down the hole before he entered the situation. And it's like, what?
Yeah, it's rough, but like, this is why I genuinely think like Archangel, for all its little foibles, is a genuinely good companion piece. Yeah, that sounds like, I think it genuinely explores something new of that concept. And I think I'm of the opinion that Brave New World is a better depiction of dystopia than 1984, and this is kind of why, because I find it interesting to look at people's pro-social instincts going wrong.
Yeah.
And that's what I find like Archangel does quite well. So Archangel, again, it's not a great episode by any means, but it is the best of season 4, and I do think it genuinely offers a meaningful perspective instead of just like, again, Shut Up and Dance is what if White Bear, again, but with a different crime.
Yeah, I mean,
and honestly removing kind of like the media aspect that was in White Bear.
Yeah, I mean, it like plays on a few more modern anxieties, but yeah.
Yeah, but
Um,
I don't know if that benefits it that much.
yeah. One thing I would like to do for um to get a little bit away from just net weaving the whole web of interconnection is just like look at this season because it is the only season that was ever like the only season of Black Mirror. That's
Yeah.
it. Like I want to like think about it as like a cohesive piece.
Mm.
Um, and I think like this is probably like the most anthology that's Black Mirror has
Yeah.
been because like I'm trying to think like does it have that many like interconnections or is it just like some quite varied thrusts outward?
I would say like there's a little bit of overlap in talking about like social media or like media as a whole in the national anthem and 50 Million Merits. What I think is one very interesting point, and I'm not sure if we discussed this before, but like just the different levels of sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
Like it very much felt like this was them. I don't know if they expected to get renewed or whatever, but like I think it's fascinating to look at the three types of sci-fi.
Yeah.
Because one of them is not sci-fi, and the other is fully sci-fi, and then you have the entire history of you, which I think kind of becomes the template for future Black Mirror, which is mostly normal. Here's one extra technology, plus occasionally some like extra flourishes around that to show
Yeah.
that we're 10 years into the future. People have, I don't know, self-opening car doors or whatever. Like, here's a slight fancy thing.
Yeah. I mean, I do think like there is a very interesting thing about especially the national anthem, just in the sense that it is like still trying to be sci-fi, right? It's trying to do like the work of alienating you from things that are in your world, and
In what
just
sense?
well, it's looking at the media apparatus, and it's going like, hey, we're going to really like crank up all the dials. Like, is this still something you recognize? Right? Or is this like, or are you in the future but don't quite know it yet? And I think that's I think that's a fairly persuasive question.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that is. I think we might have talked about this a bit in
Yeah.
the national anthem, but just like the idea of like sci-fi, if you look at it with the most sort of like artistic lens or whatever, sci-fi is about taking something that exists, or at least very much soon could exist, and exaggerating it to look at the impacts of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but like this is a mind virus for me. Detroit Become Human talking about racism, right? Like, and that's I'm bringing it up not just because I think it's a very funny example, but also because like this is a very common thing in sci-fi. But like, what if people were racist towards aliens? It's maybe not like peak writing, but it's a common thing, and I suppose that is kind of what the national anthem is doing. It doesn't do any new tech. Right.
Yeah.
Like that's fundamentally the difference. It does not have lasers or shiny holograms or anything. It just goes like, what if the media was like even worse, dude?
Yeah.
Which I guess is kind of in a way an ancestor of what if phones but more.
Yeah. Like I do think you kind of have to read the season a little bit through the lens of Charlie Brooker is a media professional who has some gripes about the media.
Yeah, but then the entire history of you feels quite strange in that regard, right? Like you can view the opening scene perhaps as a little bit of a dig towards lawyers, and they're an easy target, so why not? But apart from that, like I don't see a strong connection to like the media aspect just in that one.
No, that's true. Like I think we are at another one of those where it's like, yeah, you can connect 2 episodes,
Yeah.
but 3 is going to be hard.
We did it a lot, but I think, like, to me, season 1, just on a vibes level, kind of strikes me as both, like, here's a few things Charlie Brooker's been thinking about, and maybe even some of these, like, had rough drafts before Black Mirror became a thing, and he wants to explore them, and he wants to genuinely make an effort to make each episode quite different.
Yeah.
Because, like, if even the media is very different, right? Because, like, National Anthem talks about media on like the highbrow level, right? In a sense, even if it's, and like, you know, the irony
it's
is
the BBC.
yeah, like, and it's the irony being that they're covering a very gross thing, right? Like, it's about, like, the BBC and CNN and stuff like that running up with cameras towards, like, I don't know, two children fighting in the mud or something like that. Like, that's the central joke here on some level. Whereas fundamentally, like, 50 Million Merits, I think, is way more derisive of its subject, which is like, look at these gross lower class media folks, essentially. Which, like, I think it works okay. I think it probably ages weirdly. Okay, apart from the women angle, that is kind of a thing.
In early Black Mirror seasons.
In early Black Mirror seasons. I think the actual... If we exclude that, the rest of 50 Million Merits, I think, ages quite well into the age of, like, social media becoming news and becoming spectacle and becoming entertainment all in one. Like there is something to be said for that sort of, like, conglomeration of power in to put it mildly, very untrustworthy media sources, and how much power is accumulated there. So in that way, I think it actually ages quite well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now, like, is the entire history of You just like it is such a keystone for the rest of Black Mirror,
yes.
But, like, it feels very isolated from the rest of season 1 now that I'm trying to, like, think through it. Like,
well, I think there's probably a couple of reasons. So, the very gauche first reason is that I suspect 15 Million Merits would, like, if they took that as the template for future Black Mirror, filming costs would have gone up a lot. And I think in comparison, the National Anthem, I don't know, I honestly don't know which I think is the best episode of season 1, but I think it's, like, the National Anthem is a very good episode, but I don't think it sticks out enough to catch, like, attention that much, right? Like, you can't...
Which is very surprising, because it's, like, it is trying to... It is, like, the most bombastic premise, right?
Yeah. Yeah, in a sense, for sure. Like, it's the least personal in that sense as well. But I think, like, fundamentally, one of those issues, and I think Netflix probably contributes to this to an extent, is just that you cannot show anyone a shot of the National Anthem, maybe apart from the very spoilery, like, result of the plot. And anyone, like, if you show them just a picture of a random part of the National Anthem, they go, that's British people. They're doing British stuff. Like, it's that happens, man. And that appeals to some people, but I don't think it has widespread appeal. Where if you show someone, like a shot, and I think this is probably, like, a reason why this comes back so much in future seasons, a shot of, like the final shots of the entire history of You, of this man with, like, blank eyes looking into his past and, like, obsessing over it, that's powerful. Like, that is intriguing. And even the same thing with 15 Million Merits. There's a couple of shots there that, like, really go, like, oh, I'm curious what's up with this dystopia. How did we end up here? I think that is really the fascinating part, is that the entire history of You feels like maybe the least bombastic of the 3 episodes, even to me by kind of a good margin.
Yeah.
And yet its vibe and its, like, technological implications and its general feel on the sci-fi scale is the template for, I would say, the overwhelming majority of future Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Like,
I think, like, digging in a bit more into, like, the Netflix angle, right? Like, it's also just the least British.
It's true.
Right? Like, Black Mirror, like, as it leaves Channel 4, and it's, like, starting this, I think, well ahead of time, is just going, like, hey, I guess we need to appeal to an international audience now, right? Because as you do the first season, right, you start with the National Anthem, the episode that is sure to, like, affront British people in a way that grabs attention.
Yeah.
And, like, by the time, like, he's kind of made it into the culture, or Black Mirror has made it into the culture, it's like, alright, we are no longer able to be like, hey, now, this is an episode about how Boris Johnson is bad, right? And you can do that in season 2, maybe, but, like, already by the time of White Christmas, that's John Hamm. He got John Hamm. John Hamm isn't wait, John Hamm is American, right?
I think so.
John Hamm feels American. He's in Mad Men, you know? And in that way, it's like, it's very, very different from all the rest of Black Mirror.
Yeah, I was like, another thing that I've been thinking about a little bit is like we've talked a little bit in the past about how Black Mirror uses gore and sex in particular become very different, because like here in season 1 there's quite a bit, I would even say, right? Like there's like a good bit of a gore, especially in Antares' review, where we get quite an uncomfortable long close-up shot of the removal of the grain from his neck.
Yep.
There's a lot of like 50 Million Merits has the porn ads constantly, but I think in season 1 it's very intentional. That does not necessarily automatically mean good, but later seasons I think throws out a lot of this kind of just casually, right? Like it's a lot of bone, but like, yeah, and then they had sex, like in Smithereens or like Lock Henry or whatever. Like there's a lot of like, yeah, and then there's just like, yeah, casual sex scene, bit of gore here and there just for fun. Like, but in season 1 it's used quite in quite a measured way, I would say, comparatively.
I mean, I do think I'm reminded of a thought I had earlier about season 1, which is like, it is trying to do a lot, right? In the sense of, like, it's trying to be transgressive. Mm-hmm. It is starting with the most transgressive thing it can think of.
Yeah.
It is inventing a new, like, sexual deviancy that will stick into the British public's mind.
Yeah.
Right? And at the same time, like, in trying to be transgressive, like, it really ages itself, especially 15 Million Merits, right? Like Black Mirror, like, undergoes the transition where it goes, like, hey, let's be normal about women, right? Whereas previously, you have White Christmas, you have 15 Million Merits, and they're, like, off-putting in that specific way, right? Like, that is more or less early Black Mirror's big blind spot. That's like, yeah, we're trying to be transgressive. That means, like, being very exploitative and, like, voyeuristic of women.
Yeah.
And, right, and I think that comes as part of a larger package of going, like, all right, we are doing something here, and some of it, and like the moral, or right, the logic is, I think, quite evidently to some degree, like, transgression for its own sake to shock people, right?
Yeah.
Like Charlie Brooker, we will over and over discover is fascinated by vulgarity, and here he's like, well, I'm quite a vulgarity connoisseur. And later on, he tips a little bit more into, like, no, isn't this bad? Right? And I think that's where Black Museum really shines. Because, like, we didn't have the context at the time, right? Like, Black Museum...
It feels a lot more self-reflective now.
Yeah, it's a big mea culpa. Right? Because it's like, no. I know black people are real and good. I know women are real and good. I think the main one he does for that is maybe San Junipero, but it's he has Archangel. It is not just done; it is done fairly substantively.
Yeah, and even like Crocodile, I want to say, because like
one
of the things that I just looked at, but honestly, was that like if we look at season 1 and season 2, and including White Christmas. There are 2 episodes where the protagonist is a woman. One of them, she spends nearly the entire time, like, crying and screaming, and I'm not gonna say hysterical, because I think, like, the situation she's in warrants it, but simultaneously, like, there's a fair point that she does not have a lot of agency, and, like, it's not portrayed as that way. And the other one is a story about, like, love and loss, and, like, being attached to your partner, right? Like, it Be Right Back still very much centers her boyfriend, right? Like, narratively speaking. And I think that's quite a shift, because, like, even something like Crocodile,
Crocodile isn't interested in men.
Yeah, she girl bossing. But, like genuinely, that's like the point where, like, because I think it's near like, I don't even need to state this, that like, post season 2, the portrayal of women is a lot better. But I was kind of, like, quickly reflecting, like, how much of it is that, like, because even in a lot of, like, like, allegedly progressive works, a lot of the time in these sort of anthology series, it can still be like, okay, women when the plot is about emotions, men when the plot is about, like, having agency and doing stuff. And I want to say, I think, like, at the very least by season 4, with stuff like Crocodile, that stops being the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think genuinely, like, it's...
Yeah, men when the plot is about emotions is striking vipers.
It's true. Yeah, like, Rachel, Jack, and Ashley, like... I mean, it's still a huge loss for what could have been a very interesting exploration of empowerment and, like, pop feminism, stuff like that. But simultaneously, it is a story about two girls exploring, like, Macy Day, etc. Like, the only thing is, like, okay, wait, let me just quickly look at season 3 on that point. Because, like, what do we have? We have Nosedive. Okay, that one is maybe the last big shot of women be shopping. But, like... San Junipero.
It's more interested in women than previous Black Mirror, at least.
Yeah,
it's not quite there yet, but it is about women.
They actually get to be the main part of the plot. But and even Hated in the Nation is one where it's like the two main protagonists are women, and it's not about just emotion and shopping and boys.
No, it's about the other thing women can do in Britain, which is investigate crimes. But yeah, no, I think we need to, for a moment, investigate the notion that Black Mirror has at the same time gone woke and gotten worse. Because I do think those two are fairly tangibly, factually accurate statements.
What? Let me ask you a quick question as, like, a counterfactual. What do you think is a single wokest episode of Black Mirror?
Oh, San Junipero.
Really? Okay. I was gonna say Demon 79.
I mean, they're both duking it out. They're both up there. For
okay,
sure.
Fair enough. And I would say those are, like, post season 2. I honestly, I might even go so far as to say I think those might be the 2 best episodes of Black Mirror.
Yeah, which is quite funny, I guess, because, like, I do think other than that we have, like, a lot of Drek, right?
Yes.
That the first 2, and I think. Like, I want to psychoanalyze Charlie Brooker a little bit, because, like, clearly, like, at some point, some front, presumably from Netflix, has sat him down and gone, like, now listen, Mr. Brooker, we are making this for Americans, and Americans are, in the year of our Lord 2015, woke. America is the country of Obama at the current time, and we need you to respect Black people and women. Right? And
well, okay,
he has done some presumably quite genuine self-reflection based on the results and gone like, doing transgression to a degree for transgression's sake has led me down some dark paths, very evidently. And I feel like he's become more skittish as a result, but also just a lot better about those particular issues of depiction.
I want to say, like, the transgressive stuff, like, that they obviously... Or not transgressive, but they obviously, like, vulgar stuff in later season, like in Jonas Awful, has nothing to do with, like, anything politically interesting, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's not about treating women as objects anymore. But, like, I want to defend Charlie Brooker for a second, because I do not think he is racist.
No. Well, he's ambiently racist. He is not convictionally racist. I think that is a belief I hold about most people.
Okay, fair enough. In that case, yes.
Yeah.
But, like, in the early seasons, like, I don't think there are any... Like, if you're talking about race, the interesting one is White Bear, but there it, like... I think it is completely within the bounds of reality to look at that as, like, a genuine implication that, of course, they would treat the non-white women, or a woman in this case, as, like, the punching bag.
Yeah.
Like, that completely reads to me. Honestly, I want to say Black Museum might be more racist than those, but, like, that one, I don't want to fault him for that one, because I do genuinely think he's trying.
Yeah, no, I feel like Black Museum is, like, a corollary to Nosedive.
Yeah, I can see that.
In like that sense where it's like, all right, I'm trying to get better at this, and I'm going to need one big miss to really get there.
Yeah.
And after that, we can have striking vipers.
Yeah, and then like, I'm gonna get back to striking vipers in a moment, because on this podcast we always get back to striking vipers, but specifically like Demon 79, genuine, like really good look into race in Britain in the 70s. I forget exactly when it takes place, but yeah, 67, thereabouts.
Thereabouts.
But like genuinely good, right?
Yes.
Like genuinely depicts a sort of like subtle of like, I'm not racist. I just don't think curry's like a real food,
and it
like
smells so much.
Yeah, it smells so much, and it's like, I just like kind of don't want to live next to these people. And it's not because they're not like, you know, it has like some very good like depictions of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Striking vipers. Now, I am not a mind reader, but I genuinely suspect that if you showed like a Gamergator all of Black Mirror, they might point Striking Vipers as the wokest episode.
Yeah.
Because like it doesn't
he's a woman in the game.
He's a woman in the game. They're black. They're gay? Question mark.
Yeah.
And also like you know, if we talk about this, like the actual use of woke has nothing to do with like the plot points. It's about how many black or queer or women exist.
Let me pose you a very pertinent and unfortunate question at this point.
Yes.
Do you think Gamergators, like on average, are more racist than they hate women? Like I'm thinking about it, and I'm like really struggling, and like they're interlinked, which is making it even harder.
So like you are asking a white woman about this, so like take the bias with you. I think they hate women more than they hate non-white people, but like that's hard.
I guess Black Mirror doesn't have an all-women episode though.
That's true.
So in that sense, I think having the all-black cast episode would still jump out more to this hypothetical race.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah. Is that like it's a bit more in your face in the most shallow sense. I think it's
also an American European thing, because I think a European Gamergator definitely hates women more because they haven't like developed conscious racism in the same way that Americans have.
Apart from against the Romani.
Didn't know about that one in the Gamergate context.
Well, I just think like, you know, anti-Romani racism is just kind of like fully accepted. I just have to by proxy assume that Gamergators are probably like slightly more racist towards Romani than
maybe. I think this is also a bit of national differentiation here, and I don't think we can dive into it in this episode because we will be going long. We're already going to go long.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think there's definitely something to that.
Yeah. God. We've gotten a little bit far off track from season 1, but like this has been such a...
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this is the point where we like have to take in the whole.
Yeah, and it's honestly like I think season 1 and 2 have been so incredibly illuminating.
Yeah. Like
I know I keep coming back to that, but like good lord. Just like because this is where I kind of wish we didn't do a podcast, but like a video essay, because I want to sit down with like pieces of paper and draw diagrams, right? Like just taking the grain technology from the entire history of you and seeing as it's like tendrils creep over the rest of Black Mirror in its variations, right?
Yeah. Because it's there.
Yeah, like there's like, because it starts as grain that lets you rewatch your memories and also makes you like look at, and then like
grain that's just a record for no other discernible reason other than enslaving your mind copy down the line. Which appears both in White Christmas and Black Museum, which are the same episode.
Yes. I just like a lot of, I guess, we start having it be like, okay, it's not just that you can look back at your own memories and playtest, you can just like experience new stuff in it. In Nosedive, it's like, I think it is an implant in Nosedive too, right? Like it's like or it's like a
I
lens?
think it's contacts.
I guess that's different enough. I'll allow that. But just the like idea of like, oh, here's this thing that connects you to stuff all the time.
Yeah, and when it's not supposed to be like quite essential, it's not a grained implant in your skull, but rather it's something that goes on the side of your head.
Yes.
Right.
God, when did that start?
Well, it shows up in Striking Vipers. It already shows up earlier though. It's the horror episode with
Playtest?
Yeah, it's Playtest. That might be one of the earliest.
What do they do in Men Against Fire? Like, do they have an implant there? Also, Podcat is very interested in our analysis, in case that isn't
thank
clear.
you, Podcat.
Thank you, Podcat. I don't... Is it an implant? I think it's an implant.
I don't think we're told.
I think like a little interesting thing about the sci-fi things that like I don't know how to truly connect this, but I think it's probably just as a way to not make the setting feel too alien, is that there's never really any bigger like cybernetics in the sci-fi sense apart from just like a little thing you implant or put on your body.
Yeah.
Like there's never like a here's the cyber eye, you know. I just think that's interesting.
Yeah, no, I don't think Charlie Brooker is that interested in transhumanism in that sense.
No. USS Callister also has the grain, whereas it's the same thing about like, oh, you just become VR'd. Is Archangel... I think that's an implant too, or like something like that, right? On the kid?
Yeah, like you stick a little thing in your skull.
Crocodile. Does Crocodile actually have like a thing, or is it just that like the memory dredge?
I think it's just the dredge.
That's pretty sick, honestly. I respect it for that.
God,
what a good
I
episode.
love the dredge. I wish
really
the episode had been about the dredge.
Oh god, yeah, like it's such a good concept, and that episode is so wasted.
Yeah,
it's like I think Crocodile. I'm not sure I'm ready to get into like a tier list here, but I think Crocodile might be like the second worst episode of Black Mirror after Metalhead.
It's definitely like the biggest miss.
Yes, that like, much too, because like Metalhead does not have potential.
No, it doesn't.
Like that Metalhead sucked to watch through. Like it was 40 minutes. It was not that long, and yet it felt so long.
Yeah, we never go back to talk about Metalhead. We go back to talk about Crocodile and sometimes Men Against Fire. Yeah. But like Crocodile is really the big one.
It was really liberating to know that it never had any potential to be better.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, God, like looking across all of Black Mirror, I feel like the thing that really stands out to me is how much like it coalesces over time, and I say that as a bad thing. Like, like
it
how
coagulates.
Yeah. Ooh, very good, Jurgen. Like that. Yeah, that's perfect, right? Because like it keeps being like, okay, we started trying things. Not all of these things we do. Like, okay, Metalhead sucks, but I'm at least glad that they tried something.
Yeah.
Like I have to respect that over let's do the same like 2 to 3 technologies over and over again. Like when we had our Shut Up and Dance episode, I defended Shut Up and Dance a lot more than you did.
Yeah.
But simultaneously, I can't help but feel like it's a symptom of decay, right?
Yeah.
Like, and Hang the DJ too. It's like I think
I think actually Shut Up and Dance is the first big 1-to-1.
Yes, absolutely. I think it might be by far the clearest one as well.
Yeah, I mean Black Museum is the runner-up.
Yeah,
and it's not that close.
Yeah, like it's still sufficiently different because at least like the main thing it talks about, like White Christmas, right, talks a lot about like the invasiveness of technology, and Black Museum is more about like pain and hell and like cruelty. So it's at least like the structure is extremely similar, but at least they do different things with the structure. But yeah, like and like something like
somewhat different.
Somewhat okay. Like fair enough. I think there's an interesting little through line for me that like over time, as we've done this. I've become less kind to Black Mirror in the middle, and now as we're nearing the end, I've become more like, it's a good episode, parentheses, for Black Mirror. Like,
especially, well, for the season too.
Yeah, for sure. But like that's something that I have to say, like, I think if I have to analyze something like that in isolation, I don't think Archangel is a good episode. I don't think it's good media overall. But like for Black Mirror, yeah, of course, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like something like Hang the DJ too is just like, what if we tried recreating San Junipero kind of a little bit, and it like just falls flat on his face, right?
Wait, was Hang the DJ after San Junipero?
Yeah, it's season 4. I'm pretty sure.
It's crazy.
I don't think that's crazy at all. That strikes me as like the most immediate, like, let's do a happy romance episode, and then like it immediately falls apart because they didn't think it through.
Oh.
But yeah, like I suspect there's gonna be more of this in season 7, and that's a bit depressing.
Well, I don't know. I think I've sort of lifted season 6 a little bit higher in my recollection than
Me too.
potentially it warrants.
Me too.
But, like, it is an upward trend at that point.
Yes.
So that makes me a bit more optimistic.
What I
for
will
season
say,
7.
what I will say on that point is that like the upwards trend is really important, right? Because season 3 and 4 I think are the low point.
Yeah.
Season 5 is, to me, fucking unrateable. Like, Striking Vipers might be my favorite experience in Black Mirror so far. But, like, I don't think I can say it's a good episode.
No?
I don't think I can say it's, like... it's very entertaining. But good lord, you know? Like, and same thing with Rachel, Jack, and Ashley too, right? Smithereens is the one that, like, actually tries to be a thing.
Yeah.
And I actually want to get in on that for a moment, because, like, have you noticed that the more Black Mirror goes along, the more, like, each season just has, like, a episode, like, where they just, like, did a thing, right? Like, at least once or twice. Like, playtest. You know?
You hate playtests so much more than I do.
I know, like...
I've, like, mostly forgotten playtest. Like, it does not stick in my mind.
I think it's genuinely because, like, as I was watching Black Mirror for the first time, chronologically, this was the first time I went, why did you make this episode?
Yeah, okay. I think that episode is different for a lot of people. I started quite pessimistically and not chronologically, so I just don't have that experience. I do think, like, dear listener... write in what the episode, if you're a Black Mirror watcher, write in what episode like made you go like, hold on, is this good? Is this still a good show?
I would love
Please
to hear.
tell us.
Like, God, there's a deep part of my heart that wants to reach out to as many people as possible about Black Mirror, because like I just cannot for the life of me understand some opinions about Black Mirrors, right?
Yeah.
And I know we've been sitting here for like going on half a year at this point, like talking about Black Mirror. Like we've created our own madness prison, but simultaneously, like, how can people like Beyond the Sea? Genuinely.
Well, it has good actors.
But they don't like act.
Well, I think
they spend a lot of time not acting.
It's a very subtle thing.
But yeah, like just like running through some stuff, like playtest, whether it's a good episode or not, or whether it's like truly awful. Like it's just like, oh, it'd be fucked up if there's a fucked up video game.
Hold on, is playtest the like
Call Your
first
Mom?
hell episode?
I think no, White Christmas.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like White Christmas. Wait, whatever. Will the moment be right back? White Bear probably has to be the most distinct first hell episode. I feel like.
I think White Bear is a little bit too complex to be like a proper hell episode.
Maybe.
But yeah, no.
Like, sorry, I just want to run through my like nonsense episodes of each season, right? Because like I don't think there is one in season 1 or 2. I think Playtest is an extremely strong one for season 3. I don't want to say like USS Callister even more than Metalhead to me is the like. Oh, he's like a kind of funny but incredibly dumb episode.
Really?
Kinda.
I think USS Metalhead to me is the most like... See, I have no respect for Metalhead. I think Metalhead is just like a genre episode that doesn't try to do anything.
I guess, like, okay, I think there are 2 tracks here. Because I think there's, in each episode, or in each series after season 3, or starting with season 3, I should say, there's like a nonsense episode, and then there's like a genre episode, like one that is just dedicated to doing a genre.
Does season 6 have a genre episode? I don't think it does.
And that one has a nonsense episode, and Joan is awful. Lock Henry maybe, but Macy Day. Macy Day is the real nonsense episode of season.
It's the
6.
nonsense episode, but I don't think there's a genre episode.
I suppose not. No.
Which is fascinating.
I think in season 5, I know both Striking Vipers and Rachel, Jack, and Ashley too are strong contenders for nonsense. But
I mean, Rachel, Jack, and Ashley is genre. Therefore, Striking
exactly.
Vipers is nonsense.
Season 4, like I said, I think USS Callister is the nonsense episode, and I think the genre episode is both Crocodile, and Metalhead. God, I can't believe both of those were in the same season.
I don't think of Callister as much as a nonsense episode because
Really?
like it's interested in nostalgia and it's not good, but it's like it. I do think it's trying to do something substantive.
Hot take.
And it's got Jesse Plemons.
Hot take. USS Callister is the prologue to Rachel, Jack, and Ashley too, because it starts talking about something, and then halfway through we get the "no one takes my pussy from me" or whatever she says.
Maybe.
And at that point, it's just a heist.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I haven't thought about this before, but I feel like now that I say it, it rings extremely true to me.
The escape into genre, like that is
Wow.
that is a very strange micro connection. Yeah. But while we're talking about overriding themes, I wanna get into it with a bit more structure, right? Because we have an easy one to get us started with.
Mm-hmm.
We have affairs. We've got affairs in season 1. We've got the affair episode. Like, that's just something that Black Mirror thinks about immediately.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's ever that productive.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because we have like we have one episode that is almost exclusively about affair as like the instigating plot element, right? In the entire history of you. And then like the other two, like they're not affairs, but they certainly include a lot of relationship tension due to sexual interactions with other creatures. Let's say, like that is a notable emotional plot point of I was gonna say the national anthem, right? And then I don't know, like 15 Million Merits. It does feel a bit like I can't believe you lost control of your woman, but like...
It's such a weird love triangle that doesn't do anything.
I wouldn't even call it a love triangle, to be honest. Like, I see where you're getting at, but like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, it has multiple lines. It is 3 dots and multiple lines.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, that's... it. I guess that is something that like loses its prominence, but it is so prominent here. But like, I guess like zooming out to like relationships as a driver a bit more, like that's also, I think that is probably something that this season does better than the rest of Black Mirror, because the rest of Black Mirror isn't usually that interested in like the bonds between people. Right, like, it's not as interested as this season.
No, I think that's definitely true. And I mean, I think that's kind of, like, I think probably like an overarching theme you could talk about with season 1 is like the strains of technology upon those bonds, right? And like that's why it's actually interested. Like, because we talked in the past about how like a lot of future Black Mirror is still about like the interweaving of technology and individual, right? And like how that strains individual. But like this season is very specifically about the bonds between individuals, not just like a person is sad because the metal dog is hunting her.
Yeah, and I think that straightforwardly makes this better.
Yeah,
right? I don't
agree.
think this is as much of like, here's a theme that doesn't get picked up as much. No, this is just something you need to talk about when you tell stories about people.
And, like, I think that also very much resonates why, like, Archangel and San Junipero are the best episodes of their respective seasons. Because that's exactly what they're about. Like, I think, like, for what it's worth, I think Charlie Brooker, when he wants to, like, when he cares, I think he's quite good at writing people, like, writing characters.
Yeah, like, he does stupid cliches. But, like, they're only a part of it.
Yeah, like, and when he actually dedicates himself to, like, okay, like, let's not just make, like, Lock Henry, I think, is a good example of when he did not care, right? Like when he did not care about making
Yeah.
like the female.
Yeah, the girlfriend dies at some point. It's fine.
I don't think that episode is like misogynistic, to be clear, but the female deuteragonist is just there to incite the plot.
Yeah.
Like I think that is again where Charlie Brooker is worse as a writer, is when he goes like, I have to do the plot and then the characters, and like use the characters to fit it in.
Yeah, which like that is like very basic writing, and he doesn't always hit it because he doesn't always care.
Yeah, I mean,
I think here's a weird one. Beyond the Sea is at least nominally about very interpersonal things, and
Right.
falls short because it doesn't. Why does it fall short? It's been a long time.
To me, it falls short because it has no meaningful interaction with technology. And I don't just mean that in the sense of like, oh, like clearly you have to do cool tech to make sci-fi. I think it's just like it's a story that is very invested in believing its technology is meaningful, and it's just not. Like, I've done my best to suppress Beyond the Sea, but like it could just be an affair story. It's like, to me, still a salient critique.
Yeah.
Like
you could just set it in the Civil War and they take in like a recovering comrade.
yeah, exactly. Like, and that's to me is because like I think Beyond the Sea is still invested in believing that its technology is meaningfully interacted, and that thus it sets aside a lot of time, unfortunately, to be like, look, they're on a space station. They're not on Earth, but they're also on Earth. Ain't that crazy?
I guess like the tenets of Black Mirror that you want for a good episode is it is interested in technology and it is interested in the relations between people, and like sort of in the interaction between that, like the good juice comes out.
I'd say so, yeah. And yet, to me, I think like Demon 79 is still like, again, top 2 episode for me, and it does not care that much about technology. Apart from perhaps you could talk about social technology, but to me, like,
yeah,
I don't even think so. Like, I think this is I think Demon 79 is genuinely a story that could have taken place in like a remote village. Like, I don't think it needs mass media. I don't think it needs, like, it's a story about racism. Like, racism is a thing that has existed for a very long time.
Well, yeah,
and intolerance in the broader sense.
I think Demon 79 is like it's a very interesting because like it's not a Black Mirror thing on the face of it, but like it becomes like relevant in the larger conversation, right? Because I do think it is about social technology, because like it is in direct conversation with a season that is like about systems disintegrating and how you react to that.
I suppose.
And
yeah.
Because all the other systems in the season like disintegrate because of or at least in part because of technology, or at least in relation to technology, Demon 79 then by proxy is talking about the present as well, right? Like, it is on the face of it like, hey, racism bad, burn it down. But like in the context, it is sort of abstracted to bad system, maybe burn it down.
Yeah, I think there's truth to that. I think also Demon 79 very much like talks about like participation in systems, right? Like it talks about like, is it worth to like ameliorate a bad system because at least it won't have like the apocalypse as a consequence. And it fundamentally says, if that's what it takes, then yeah, bring on the apocalypse.
Yeah,
like it's you know, they I guess what I'm saying is Demon 79 would not have voted for Kamala Harris.
Demon 79 has a comment hitting the Earth 2024 sticker on its car, and that is the most unfair and unkind thing I can say about that beautiful episode. But yeah, no, like, I do... Here's another greater theme I wanted to sort of try and trace back through the seasons. Because, like, season 6, I think, is the most, like, resignation, versus like rebellion
Yeah.
season, right? And I'm trying to think like how much do we like are we able to trace that back through like especially the earliest seasons? And like I'm immediately thinking of our big blue bear. Our big blue vulgar bear whose episode
is Waldo blue? Like, I genuinely do not remember.
Waldo is blue.
Okay, fair enough.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the earlier seasons, like, I think there's something to be said that Black Mirror became known for being extremely bleak, and that was, like, genuinely a marketing point, and I think sometimes it gets a bit too drunk on its own thing, much like, say, Game of Thrones, right? Like, it has the same thing of, like, being addicted to its own...
Yeah, much like Game of Thrones is addicted to turning down the gamma value.
Something like that, yeah. But, like, I think one of the consequences, or perhaps just, like, inbuilt features of the early seasons is that it kind of posits systems as just being. And the choices you have are to let it go on or try to rebel but have your rebellion be subsumed.
Yeah.
Like, because that's very much a thing. In Waldo, like, I think Waldo is quite, like, honestly, again, I'm not going to talk about the epilogue of Waldo, but apart from that, I think it's, like, a genuinely quite insightful analysis of that sort of, like, fake rebellious politics. Yeah. But it also very much connects to just 50 million merits of the, like, someone is angry at the system, does a thing, and then immediately has their rebellion subsumed because they do not really have the, like, I guess, for lack of a better word, like, ideological education to conceive of an alternative.
Yeah.
And I think, I'll keep doing that. National Anthem and the entire history of you, I think, are slightly too personal to talk about that. But then, like, White Bear... Like, I don't know. I think that one is more talking about, like, look at this thing being used to make you part of the system.
Well, okay, I want to talk about National Anthem, actually, because I think it's a really interesting one, like, in this context. Because, like, Season 6 is, like, it's bracketed by it's gonna come down. And in the middle, it's like, is it? And then it's like, nah, it's gonna come down though, right? National Anthem does not conceive of that possibility, but it is instead invested in stability, right? It's like, oh yeah, anyway, he's still prime minister.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. Like, I think it's one of those things where it's like, here's a challenge to this, right? Like, here's this, like, we're talking about, like, the BBC or, like, any other, like, prestigious news network covering something extremely vulgar, and yet it just persists. Because, like, I think the implication of, like, the National Anthem, a lot of it is just, like, at some point, we come up as a society, as, like, a civilization, upon a turning moment where we go, like, this does not make sense. Like, the thing we are doing does not make sense. And we all freeze, and then it keeps going. Yeah. Like, I think... in a way, this strikes me as very, like, relevant to, like, the 2008 financial crash, right? Like, where, like, a lot of countries had to reckon with, like, clearly, this system does not make sense, is screwing over the vast majority of people, and doesn't even function as it promises to function.
Anyway.
Yeah. And, like, I haven't thought about this before, but, like, it does strike me as, like, kind of like a relevant point, right?
Yeah, like, I think... like, it's sort of in the water at that point, right? That, like, oh, no, like, capitalist realism maybe is a little bit of a stretch to connect it to, but, like, it is sort of, like, in that atmosphere where it's like, well, like, change? Is that in the cards, right? Like, that's National Anthem, that's 15 million merits, right? And it's the entire history of you... also, because, like, sure, it's, but just not with emphasis.
Yeah, I the entire history of you, I think, is harder to connect to it, but, like, I feel the rest of it is just, like, a very, and, like, the Waldo moment, I would say, fits in here quite as well. Yeah. It is fundamentally about, like, the realization that this cannot go on anyway, it goes on. Yeah. Like, it shows the collective ability to repress. Yeah. Right? I think to some extent, Be Right Back and the entire history of you are about that on a personal level, but I think that's quite a separate thing to be able to personally repress something, right? Like, to be able to like, clearly I shouldn't resurrect my dead boyfriend as an AI, but what if I don't? What am I left with then?
Yeah, and I think, like, I think in this sense, like, I would posit that Charlie Brooker is kind of, more than anything, like, reading the zeitgeist and, like, putting it to paper.
Yeah.
I think it's I I would hope that it is like a productive thing to do, right? Because, like, sure, you might in your heart of hearts like feel like nothing's ever going to change. 2008 happened and they did fucking nothing. They were like, anyway, austerity's back on, baby. Right? And then, well, really, we're going to make things worse. So I guess change did happen, but not meaningfully.
Yeah.
It's this erosion, right? And you can experiencing that as a person, right? It sucks. But as an artist going like, anyway, I'm going to depict this, I would hope that, like, the audience goes like, ooh, I don't like seeing this, because I know it to be true of my experience. And I would hope that, like, Charlie Brooker has, in his own small way, gone, like, just, like, held the Black Mirror up to society of, like, hey, how's that stagnation going for you? I don't have any solutions, but I would like to describe the situation at least.
Yeah, I think like we talked about this in the past a lot, but like there is a very distinctive part that, like, especially early Black Mirror does not care to solve anything.
Yeah.
It is not interested in this. And then I think maybe around season 4 we had the first inklings of, like, doing stuff about it. Racism is bad. How about we kill racists, I guess? Like, it's not particularly substantial, but, like, at least it starts trying to talk about, like, there are ways out of it.
Yeah.
Like I think even, like, Archangel and Smithereens are talking about it on a personal level. You can put the phone down. You don't have to text while you drive. You don't have to obsess over your daughter's life. And if you do, like, consequences are going to come, but, like, you still have some free will in what to do here. And then season 6 extends that to, now do that to the system you live in.
Well, I think I think season 6 still somewhat lives in the context of less instruction and more zeitgeist still.
Maybe, but I think it's a bit of, like, wrestling with that. I think fundamentally, like, it's wrestling with both, like, okay, like, we're still talking about things as they are, but, like, also something needs to be done. At some point we are stood up against that choice, and we have the choice to bash the hypercomputer with a hammer or whatever happened. Jonas Awful has been a long time ago. I don't remember.
Yeah, like, season 6 to me reads like, oh, I smell smoke.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not saying, like, here is the people you should, like, politically or otherwise oppose or anything like that, right? It's just like, there is change in the air, and oh boy, it is coming.
I wanna edit that a little bit, because I don't think season 6 smells smokes. I think season 6 smells gasoline, and it's telling you should have a lighter ready.
Maybe. I mean, I think Demon 76 is the title of the episode, and I think it's still,
no,
like,
it's 79, isn't it? We've had this before. Hold on, I'm checking this.
It contains that ambivalence.
Demon
79.
Yes, because I used to call it 76, and then at some point I looked it up and I was like, what the hell? 76 is clearly, like, it rings better. Anyway, please go on, Jordan.
I think it contains that deep ambivalence where it's like, well, you're not holding the lighter, but, like, there's a sparkling wire and the gasoline is flowing towards it, right? Because, like, she doesn't choose to end the world. She just, like she gets wrestled away. And, like, right? The change is, like, she is technically opposing change, in that very nominal sense. She's just okay with the world burning, right? And I think that sort of, like, makes a more ambivalent point that's less about age, right? Like we start with Joan is awful. We start with the notion of like you can bring down the hammer, and then we move to the slump of disillusionment momentarily to go like, I don't know, maybe things aren't going to change. Maybe nothing ever happens. And then we go back up to oh, things are changing, and I don't think you have anything to say about it, right? And I think that is where I see the connecting with the zeitgeist of like, oh no, this thing is bigger than any of us. It is, but it is heading towards an iceberg.
Maybe. I don't know. I read Demon 79 as a bit more active in that sense, because like she, at that point when she finally makes the decision to let the world burn, it is after having killed two people and having so far gone to the methods of like keeping the system as it is, and then being faced with the possibility to let it continue being as it is by hammering the boy. And then she does not hammer the boy.
But she can't. She's trying. She can't. Like, she's dragged. The police get to her.
Yeah, but she could have bashed him before the police came. That's how I read it. It's bad. Maybe we should rewatch it.
Yeah, no, but like, I guess like this is the quest, and like, I think the middle seasons are like a lot harder to read some of this into.
Yeah.
Because they're Charlie Brooker not being ready to face the world of Trump, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of how I read them. But now that he's like getting sort of his feet back under him, he's like, well, I think it's coming down, baby. And this is what gives me hope for season 7 being interesting, because like Charlie Brooker, let's say he has genuinely found his feet in this new chaotic world of ours. Like, is he still at like, I think it's coming down? Like, what does he have to add now? Because season 6, like, however you read it, like, it is not the last thing he says.
No, that's
What's
for sure.
coming next, right? Like, where does he take this idea?
I want to be hopeful for that. I like whatever he ends up saying. I hope it's interesting. But just the fact that we know that there's going to be 2 sequels already in season 7 has me really worried that it's kind of going to be going back to a season 3/4 of like, oh, here's just some stuff, dude.
Maybe.
But I guess we'll have to see, and I won't judge it in advance.
Just a little, as a treat.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. Listen, we've been judging in advance since at least like season 4, right?
We've premised this podcast on judging in advance.
We, like, so many times, even after the mic has gone off, I've told Jorgen, like, this is the next episode, and he's been like, oh, okay.
Well, it's mostly about the episode length.
Well, yes.
Because we try to keep me fresh, you know?
We did try, don't we? But yeah, like, I guess we go into season 7 with confused hope.
Yeah. We want it to be good.
We want it to be good, and we wanted to say, like, honestly, more than it being good, I wanted to say stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that is generally, like, the takeaway from this podcast, that, like, hey, maybe Black Mirror doesn't have to be that good for us to use it as a jumping off point to think about things.
And even like, when it's good, because I still contend, like, I think Shut Up and Dance is a good episode, for example. Even when it's good, it doesn't have to say something, and that makes it much less valuable in the long run.
Yeah.
When it does not tread new territory, which I suppose on our earlier discussion about the value of treading new territory. Ooh, the sequels, huh? Anyway, let's hope for the best.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I'm really injecting a lot of pessimism here. I'm sorry.
Sequels can go multiple ways.
I suppose. Okay.
Prequels are where you get really dicey.
Okay. I'm gonna inject some positivity. I suppose Black Mirror has never done a sequel before, so in a way, it's kind of treading new ground.
I mean, I'm genuinely curious what he does with it.
I like Bandersnatch. The Bandersnatch sequel seems a lot more open to me than the USS Callister sequel. Because I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do with USS Callister. It was like,
No, it's people in the computer.
yeah, but like, okay, that works if you're writing like a cool sci-fi story for 13 to 15-year-olds, but like for Black Mirror,
I have some ideas, and they're not all bad.
you know, like it's just. I guess we'll see. Again, I'm trying to restrain myself here. I am sorry for being so pessimistic. But it's just like, it's something like, let me put it like this. If, I don't think something like, say, Beyond the Sea would have been improved by a to be continued with Chuck and Jack's future adventures. I don't remember their characters' names. Like, you know, like, yeah, I get that this story is open-ended, but that this open ends do not require follow-ups.
Well, while we're sort of finishing up here, I do think we should spend a moment on the initial question that propelled this podcast.
Oh, yes.
Because we were like, hey, has Black Mirror gotten worse? Right? And I think it's not a difficult question to answer.
No.
Because it's like seasons 1 and 2, thumbs up. Seasons 3 through 5, thumbs down.
Yes.
Season 6, thumb starting to be raised.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
So,
it's I'm gonna say a 60-degree thumb.
yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, Season 5 is still fundamentally so unrateable for me, but, like, because it's...
It's the interregnum where Charlie Brooker's like, maybe I should make real episodes again.
Well, it's such an obvious interregnum, too, because it has no real episodes apart from Smithereens. And, like, whatever you say about Season 3 and 4, yeah, they're bad, but, like, they are real episodes for the most part, like, with a few exceptions, like Metalhead and Crocodile and stuff
God,
like that.
Striking Vipers, like, it has so much stuff, and yet...
And yet, yeah, like, it's... God, just, like... Okay. Imagine Striking Vipers with like a single queer writer on the team. Not even the head writer, just someone who could sit in the room and be like, guys, can we like look at this for a second?
I mean, here's the thing. I think, like, in bulk, having media that is overtly, like, textually, diegetically about, being trans in cyberspace, written by people who have absolutely never spent a thought about that aspect. I think if you have just like a little bit of that, and you have these ideas sort of coalescing completely detached from like the real world where trans people exist, like, it is just going like, hey, wouldn't it be crazy if you were a chick? Right? And I think if you have just like a little bit of that, and you don't have because like it gets tiring real fast.
Yeah.
But like if there's just like a tiny amount where you go like, oh, this is a fresh perspective on something that I didn't think it was possible to have fresh perspectives on because it's real, you know? Like, that's something to be cherished in a way.
I had to look up something very quickly. As far as trans media is concerned, Striking Vipers still better representation than Emilia Perez.
I haven't engaged with Emilia Perez at all.
Okay, well, that can be for the next episode of podcasting.
That's not big promises that we might have to keep.
That's very fair. No, like, I think the quality is really interesting, and I think so much... I'm trying to genuinely think, would I be kinder to Season 3 and 4 if Season 1 and 2 did not exist? And I'm kind of 50-50 on that one, because on the one hand, I do genuinely think, like, getting to watch Season 1 and 2 being like, oh, that's where this episode was first made, like, really hits badly. Simultaneously, like, on occasion, they do genuinely insert like a little bit of an interesting twist. Like, if again, Archangel is such an example for this one of like genuinely inserting a twist on it.
Let me posit something to you. Seasons 3 and 4 would be better if they had been made in isolation, because they could do things that were still on the table, but being made as a consequence impoverishes them. However, of course, they do gain from the conversation with the thing that they're riffing on.
I can see what you mean, yeah. It's a very hard sort of counterfactual to analyze.
Yeah, because they exist primarily in conversation.
Yeah. And a lot of the time that is a disservice to them.
Well,
and on occasion it's good.
Well, I think I mostly appreciate the takeaways. Right? Like, even like just like from a media criticism standpoint, right? You have you have like, oh yeah, no, this movie was made, like, this story was adapted multiple times into a movie. And then, you can look sort of at the sort of time of the adaptation and like how it sort of captures different things, focuses on whatever. Very rarely do you have this story was adapted twice by the same man.
Yeah.
In the sequence of like a few years, and that makes them like quite unique in like just being a very narrow contrast.
Yeah. Like, I think one of the things that I like keep coming back to in my head is just that, like, when you recap, like, season 1 and 2 good, season 3 to 5 bad, season 6 getting better again. It's like season 5 still stands out to me so hard, and I think one of the reasons is because it genuinely did not feel like they were trying, and yet Striking Vipers, for the most part, is so genuine. Like, Smithereens, it's a bit by the book, but it's still a real episode. Rachel, Jack, and Ashley too, complete train wreck in a very interesting way and a very fun way.
In a very fun way.
In a very fun way, yeah.
Interesting.
No, that's fair. In a very fun way. And then, like, Striking Vipers, yeah, like, it feels very genuine, and yet, like, on the face of it, you have to look at it and be like, what were you doing?
I guess Striking Vipers is actually another strong contender for, like, biggest missed potential next to Crocodile.
Yeah.
Which is a very strange company for it to find itself in, because they're nothing alike.
I've been, in my head, I've been pondering, like, making a tier list of, like, episodes by quality. That's boring. Tier list of episodes by amount of missed potential, I think could genuinely be super fun.
Yeah, we'll see.
I wouldn't mind doing like a bonus episode of that or something like that. But yeah, like, I don't know, man. Like, here's my look at the future. I think season 7 is going to be better than season 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be as entertaining as season 5.
That's a hard one to follow.
I think it's going to be about... You know what? I'm even going to be positive about this. I think it's going to be slightly better than season 6.
Interesting.
Now, I am mentally removing Beyond the Sea from season 6.
I'm forgetting Beyond the Sea.
Yes,
because it's really hard to remember.
I think to me it's extremely memorable, like not the actual events of the episode, but that the episode exists and demanded 80 minutes of runtime.
Yeah, I would be curious. Like, there's so many, like as we read the text of Black Mirror in this great depth, like, we are operating, like, functionally on a fairly... The author is dead. Like, we have no access to Charlie Brooker as a man. We are simply inferring the author in our own minds. Yes. There are so many things that I think would probably be made more interesting by, like, a dive into production history. So I started laughing because I kept thinking about, like, I would love to have, and obviously this is not going to happen, just to be very clear, I would have loved to have Charlie Brooker on this show, and yet, even if he, like, sent out an invite, like, hey, I'd love to come on your show and talk about, like, Black Mirror, I would have to decline, because I don't think I could engage with him without being extremely insulting in, like,
a way that would probably be too much.
Yeah, no, like we enjoy talking about his works. I don't think we are kind to him. Well, we try our best, and our best isn't very good of being kind to him as an artist.
Yeah, like it's I don't know, man. I try to be as nice to him as possible, and sometimes that breaks.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's entirely fair. Let me put it like that. But yeah, like I do think it would have been fascinating to get a bit. Like I don't think there is like a Black Mirror behind the scenes documentary, but I would love to know so much. Like
I mean, I think we might already gain a lot just from knowing, like, hey, how did you experience Donald Trump's election?
yeah,
Right? Like, just like Charlie, I guess he does just do like politics chat shows. This might be eminently researchable information if we are
and yet,
willing to dive into an immense amount of Charlie Brooker's weekly wipe.
and yet, we do not deal with Charlie Brooker on this show. We deal with our own simulacrum of Charlie Brooker,
Yeah.
and I cannot let that boy go.
Yeah,
That
no,
is
and
our simulacrum.
I'm not watching like centuries of panel show.
That too, yeah.
Would be quite rough.
It would be. Oh, wow. This has been like, it's been a long time in the coming.
Yeah, and I am so curious because like this feels like a bit of an ending. I'm so curious if season 7 will feel contiguous.
Yeah, it'll be such an interesting epilogue, right? Like, because like I think like when, what was it? We started a show, and then like a month after that,
Yep.
like it's like season 7 coming up, and we were like, okay, I guess. That's unfortunate timing, but honestly, like I think it'll be such like a. I think I've described it in the past as like a very cold shower. To jump forward
Yeah,
14 years, I think it is, and I'm so intrigued. I'm so intrigued to see where this leads.
yeah, no, like this is gifting us the ability to revisit modern Black Mirror episodes without having to rewatch, which
Yeah.
is a wonderful way to like contrast our current
It's the distant
view of things.
it's a distant epilogue. It's
Well,
beautiful narratively.
I'm quite looking forward to season 7, I'll be honest.
I am, yeah. Like I've heard good things. I even want to say.
Well, that's probably a bad sign given our opinions.
Shit, you're right.
But
But no, like okay, I think I've seen some of the reviews, like review scores, and like season 3 and 4 are quite down, and season 5, and season 6 is a little bit better, and season 7 I think had slightly better reviews than season 6. So we shall see.
maybe the people are right.
Nah, I still think
Maybe the
democracy was a
people
mistake.
in aggregate are right. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to us recapping both season 1 and just all 6 seasons of Black Mirror that we've gone through.
What a journey we've been on, dear listeners.
What a fucking ride.
And the ride continues for at least one more season.
That's right, and after that, we have some ideas.
We have some ideas, but I mean, we'd love to hear from our dear listeners if they have any thoughts on where to take this next.
Yeah, no, if you have, like, an episode of something you would like us to see, write in.
Indeed.
This is a very call to action-y episode.
It is. But
like... It is a big one, so it
is.
feels justified.
The ending of an era, kinda.
It is the ending of an era. It is an era that is followed by another era, as eras tend to be.
Well, so we hope.
I mean, yeah, no, I do think, like, it's underappreciated that, like, if you take a, like, quite down-to-earth view of things, like, the world ends quite often, you know? The world, as we see it from our personal point of view, is frequently and radically transformed and ended.
Yeah. So, may you have a good ending of your world today, dear listeners.
Yeah, and we'll see you on the other side.
Season 7.
That's right.